back to my channel. Today we'll be going over Python variables. So before we get started, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I post videos about Python basics and Python tutorials. So if you want to be a master at Python and you want to learn the complete basics of Python, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Okay, so let's get started. So today's topic or today's video will be about Python variables. So what is a variable? So a variable is like a container. Like for example, if you have a bowl of candy, what is that bowl of candy used for? It's for storing the candy, right? Well, that's what a variable is like. A variable is like a container that stores data in your Python code. So let's understand how to create a variable. So let's say we can assign a variable, let's say we assign it x. Okay, so we have the variable name. So how do we assign the variable a value? We do the equal sign, and then if we want to assign it as a string, for example, we have to put the quotes, except this time we don't have to put parentheses. So we can put please subscribe. So this is an example of a variable. So let's say if we want another variable, we could do y. Well, we'll do a number this time. We'll do 6. So as you can see, since it is a 6 and it's an integer, we do not need to use quotes. So let's print these. Print x, print y. So as you can see, since these are variables, I'm not putting quotation marks around them because these are variables. So what would happen if I did put quotation marks around them? Well, as you can see, instead of printing please subscribe, it would just print x, which is not what we want. So we don't put quotation marks around a variable while printing it. Okay, so now we'll learn about casting a variable. So now I'm going to create a comment. If you don't know how to create a comment, please check out my previous video in the playlist of Python tutorials to learn how to create comments and Python syntax. So we'll go ahead and click here, and then we'll click creating a variable. Okay, now after we have created a Python variable, we'll start this and we'll put casting a variable. Okay, so we're casting a variable. So casting a variable. So how would we do this? Well, we'll say, since we already have x up there, I'll just do a equals str, which stands for string, and we'll put 3. So what this does is it'll consider 3 as a string. So let's write that in the comments right here. So this will consider x, no sorry, a as a string. So, and then we could do that for others. So we could do b equals int, and then we could do integer 3. So this is b as a integer. Okay, so after we consider a as an integer, we'll do c equals fl, which is considered as a float. FLO, yeah, float, and then we'll do 3. So this considers c as a float. Okay, so this considers c as a float. So now we learn about Python casting. We'll learn how to get the type of variable. Get the type of a variable. Okay, so get the type of variable. So we'll say, so we already have x as please subscribe. So we'll say print type x. So if we click run, it says, well, yeah. So it's going to print these up there first because we're printing them right here. And then this is what we want to look at. It says class strg. That means it's a string. X is considered a string. But what if we do print type, we'll say B. Well, actually no, not B, we'll do A. So as you can see, A is actually a string, but we're casting it, meaning we're making 3 instead of an integer, we're making it a string. So if we click run, we can see that it runs as a string. But what if we just have, we'll do z equals 3. If we just have z and you print the type of z, we get class int. That's what casting is used for. Casting is very useful because you can change the type of the variable. So that's how you get the type of a variable. Okay, so after we get the type of variable, we'll do single or double quotes. Do we need single or double quotes for a variable? Well, like I said up here, it doesn't matter. We can use single quotes and it will still work. So single quotes, it still works. But just make sure you're not having like you can't just have double quotes on one side and then single quotes on the other side. That's not, it doesn't work like that. It gives you an error. So that's what you have to have one. Okay, so after we have that, we'll learn about case sensitive variables. So case sensitive variables. So let me just comment all of this out. Okay. So as you can see, we'll say we have A equals subscribe, and we have A here equal to like. Oh, we have to make sure to put quotation marks. Okay. So there we go. We got quotation marks. And then we say, okay, what if we want to print subscribe? Well, they both are A, right? So does it really matter? Well, we'll see. Well, it does. So variables and the entire Python language is case sensitive. Meaning if you assign one as capital A and the other as lowercase a, it takes them as two different things. So if we want to print subscribe, we have to use a capital A, no matter what. So that's what case sensitive variables are. So now we'll learn about variable names. So how to name a variable. How to name a variable. Okay, so whenever you're naming a variable, make sure your variable name is related to the topic. Because if I say name is equal to John, well, that's a variable that tells me that the name is John. So that helps me remember that what my variable is associated with. But what if I put like candy equals like? Well, when I try to remember what variable I stored for the string like, I won't be able to remember because candy is nowhere related to like. So that's why you have to name your variables something related to what you're trying to store inside of it. So there are different requirements for a variable. So there are about 5 that I can think of that there are requirements for variables. So the first one is that a variable must start with a letter or the underscore character. Meaning you cannot have just like 2 var equals John. That doesn't work. It's going to give you an error. You can't start a variable with a number. It has to start with a letter or an underscore. The second requirement is, like I said, a variable cannot start with a number, and a variable can only have alphabets, numbers, and underscores. It cannot have any other random stuff like commas, periods, slashes, minus signs. I don't know what else is there in the keyboard, but it cannot have random characters. And another requirement is that variable names are case sensitive. So if you have A and capital A, there's a difference. And then you cannot name a variable name with any of Python's keywords. For example, you can't just name a variable as print hello or input, or you cannot name a variable with like functions in Pythons. So that's an important thing to remember. Okay, so I'll give you an example of a proper variable that you can name. You could use. You could do underscore name equals John. This is a, okay, I gotta put quotation marks around it. There you go. Okay, so this is a valid variable name. But if you want to do to name John, that is an illegal variable name. So make sure you follow the requirements of a variable. Okay, so what if we have multi-word variable names? How do we do that? So how to name a variable I just went over. We'll go multi-variable names. So what I mean by multi-variable name is you don't have just one word as a variable. Because you could have like name of person 1 is equal to, we'll use someone else. We'll use Lizzie or something like that. So this is what we call a multi-variable name. So there are 3 types of writing a multi-variable name. The most common one that I also use is called camel case. So we'll write camel case. So camel case is like when you write like my variable name John. So what we mean by camel case is that it's written like you have one capital letter, and then every word has a capital letter, so that you cannot have spaces in a variable like I mentioned before. So camel case is characterized by a capital letter at the beginning or start of every word in your variable name. Like camels have humps, that's why there'll be many different humps in the variable name. That's why it's called camel case. Okay, so the next one is called snake case. So snake case. So snake case is characterized when you do underscores, like my new variable name is equal to John, like that. This is called snake case because it's characterized by underscores with a beginning or start of every new word in your variable. So that's snake case. And then the other one is called Pascal case. So Pascal case. Okay. So Pascal case is characterized by when you, oh, so actually, one second. This is actually called Pascal case, where you have a capital letter at the beginning of every new variable word. Camel case is characterized when you put my variable name. It's characterized like this. Like there's, for every other alternate word, there's a capital letter. So you start off with the capital or a lowercase letter, and then the alternate word in the variable will be lowercase, then uppercase, then lowercase, like a pattern. So this would be John. So these are the 3 types of variable cases. So I'll be making a part 2 on variables because variables is a big topic. So I will be uploading part 2 of variables in Python. So stay tuned, and please don't forget to smash that subscribe button and click the bell icon to receive notifications so you know when I post the part 2 of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Peace.